In the 1970s, when prices kept rising and there never seemed to be enough time for dinner, American families were almost worn out trying to keep the tradition of eating together, until one simple invention quietly changed it all: the Crockpot. With just a few ingredients and a flip of the switch, a warm meal was ready when everyone came home. In this video, we're looking back at 20 classic dishes from the slow cooker's first boom, where convenience, creativity, and family togetherness defined the flavor of an unforgettable era. Pot roast. Kicking off this list is the dish dubbed the everyday hero, the chuck pot roast. This was the basic foundation of the first truly classic crock-pot meal in kitchens across America. This dish completely changed the working routine for parents of that time. Instead of having to wake up early to bake or prepare complicated stews, the job was simply layering the raw ingredients, chuck pot roast, potatoes, carrots, onions, and celery, into the ceramic pot. A bit of beef broth was poured over the top, the lid was sealed, and the pot started its quiet work for 8 long hours. The crock pot gave working mothers a firm promise: start dinner before sunrise and come home to a meal that tasted like it had been carefully watched over and simmered all day. When that moment came, the aroma of the slow-cooked pot roast spreading through the halls and open windows meant a cozy dinner was ready. The chuck beef, once tough and chewy, was now made tender by the slow heat of the cooker, falling apart with just a gentle touch of a fork. This set-it-and-forget-it method became an everyday savior, freeing up precious evening time and making hearty, home-cooked meals possible even on the busiest nights. Applesauce. Many older Americans still remember the afternoons when the sweet, gentle scent of apples and cinnamon filled the kitchen. Applesauce is a dish strongly linked to childhood, a simple but deeply meaningful piece of comfort food. This dish became popular in the context of the 1940s, when apples were easy to grow, easy to preserve, and often available in home gardens or local markets. The slow cooker transformed the manual process of making applesauce into a completely hands-off procedure. Instead of having to stand watch over the stove to prevent burning, homemakers just needed to wash the apples, core them, cut them into small pieces, and place them into the crock pot, along with a little water, sugar, and spices like cinnamon or ginger. The slow cooker would then take care of the rest, simmering for several hours at low heat until the apples were soft and thickened into sauce. This dish is a typical example of how the crock pot made time-saving recipes that were still delicious and nutritious much easier. Applesauce is light and smooth, helping to diversify the palate during meals and providing vitamins and energy suitable for both adults and children. This dish was often served as a dessert or side dish at breakfast or dinner. Notably, mothers often cooked it for their children when they were mildly sick because it was easy to digest, creating a feeling of familiarity and family togetherness. The simplicity of applesauce, amplified by the convenience of the crock pot, contributed to warm memories deeply rooted in American family food culture. Swiss steak. When the battle against inflation became part of daily life, Swiss steak turned into an economic lifesaver for families who had to stretch every dollar. This dish was shaped by the context of rising grocery prices and tight budgets in the 1970s. It used round steak, one of the cheapest cuts of beef at the butcher counter, which was known for being tough and lean. The resourcefulness of home cooks showed itself right from the initial preparation step. To deal with the tough meat, they tenderized the cut with flour, a rolling pin, or the back of a heavy spoon, determined to break down the muscle fibers and stretch those few extra dollars. After this initial handling, the meat was placed into the slow cooker along with sliced onions, bell peppers, celery, and a can of tomatoes. The slow heat of the crock pot, combined with the acidic tomato sauce, gradually tenderized the meat, transforming something originally tough into a melt-in-your-mouth meal. The final result was a thick, savory meat sauce, often served alongside mashed potatoes or a plate of egg noodles. Community cookbooks and church newsletters of that time were flooded with variations of this dish. Swiss steak proved that economy and satisfaction could go hand in hand. For many, this dish wasn't just dinner. It was a small victory against the economic pressures of the era. Chicken and dumplings. Nothing brings back the taste of home quite like chicken and dumplings, a symbol of cozy dinners where the family gathered around the table. But now, you didn't have to spend hours over a hot stove to get that flavor anymore. With a slow cooker, this Southern classic became easier than ever. Still rich, still soft, still full of family warmth, just like before. Instead of cooking it the traditional way, cooks simply placed the whole chicken into the slow cooker, poured in water or broth, and let it simmer all day. The real convenience came at the end of the day. Near dinner time, you just needed to drop pieces of refrigerated biscuit dough, torn or cut into small rounds, into the hot, rich broth. The result was a pot full of tender chicken, dumplings soft as pillows, and a creamy, herb-scented gravy, often enriched further with a can of condensed cream of chicken soup. This shortcut not only saved time, but also made the dish more accessible. Reputable magazines like Family Circle and Good Housekeeping reassured readers that they could recreate the flavor of childhood with just a little effort in the morning. After a long day of work, the aroma of this dish was a gentle reminder of sharing and the bonding of generations within the family. Beef stroganoff. If the previous dishes focused on economy, then beef stroganoff brought a rare sophistication to the slow cooker, making an ordinary weeknight dinner feel like a special occasion. In an era where speed was paramount, this dish offered a sense of luxury, a worthwhile upgrade for the family table. Beef pieces, sautéed beforehand in a pan or added directly to the slow cooker, were mixed with canned mushrooms and sliced onions. The slow, gentle heat of the crockpot naturally tenderized the meat until it melted, comparable to any restaurant dish. However, the real highlight was the sauce, made from broth and finished with a generous spoon of sour cream to create that distinctive richness and smoothness. This dish quickly became a hot topic in magazine party columns and at Tupperware gatherings. People shared tips on adding sour cream right before serving to maintain its smoothness, sprinkling a little paprika for color, and serving it with egg noodles for maximum effect. Stroganoff became the coveted dish of the decade, promising more than convenience. It brought a sense of the world and a nod to continental cuisine, proving that even on a regular Tuesday, dinner could still be a special occasion. Did your family ever experience this slow cooker back in the day? Which of these dishes have you tried? Share in the comments below and hit HYPE. Then let's continue this journey. Chili con carne. No dish embodies a strong community spirit and high adaptability quite like chili con carne. This dish was the undisputed champion of potluck parties and Sunday football gatherings in the 1970s. Sautéed ground beef was added to the slow cooker, along with canned tomatoes, kidney beans, and the McCormick chili seasoning packet, a shortcut that guaranteed the perfect spice balance every time. Hours of slow simmering melted these ingredients into a thick, hearty stew, filling the kitchen with anticipation and drawing in the neighbors. The Crockpot helped this dish solidify its position as the first true party star. The uniqueness of this dish also lay in its regional variations. In Texas, purists skipped the beans entirely, serving their chili over cornbread or even rice. Conversely, in Cincinnati, another variation emerged. Chili was ladled over spaghetti and generously topped with shredded cheddar cheese. This dish, with its ease, adaptability, and crowd-pleasing power, truly shaped the culinary gathering culture of that decade. Leftovers were creatively repurposed, turning into chili dogs, Frito pie, or a quick dip for tortilla chips. Swedish meatballs. In the 1970s, as cocktail parties and bridge club gatherings became popular, Swedish meatballs became the life of the party. This dish was a model for entertaining convenience, bringing a touch of international flavor to the menu without demanding any of the complexity of European cuisine. The success of this dish was tied to the Crockpot, as it granted hosts new freedom. The recipe was prepared minimally, relying on the sheer convenience of frozen meatballs as a secret weapon. They were dropped into the slow cooker along with beef broth and cream, creating a rich sauce. Sometimes a touch of sour cream would be added at the end for the sauce to achieve its signature smooth texture, coating every meatball. But what made this dish truly special was the feeling of freedom it provided. While the food stayed warm for hours, the host could chat, laugh, and mingle instead of being stuck in the kitchen. The meatballs were skewered with toothpicks, served directly from the pot, appearing both casual and elegant. Food magazines at the time hailed it as the dish of the new age, where convenience, creativity, and the joy of sharing met. And it's true, Swedish meatballs wasn't just a meal, it was a symbol of the 1970s lifestyle, where the entire culinary world revolved around one small pot and an endless, simple joy. Meatloaf. Not every dish can stand the test of time, but classic American meatloaf certainly did. From the difficult years when every scrap of meat had to be maximized, this dish was reborn in the oval slow cooker, a symbol of patience and creativity in the American kitchen. Instead of a dry, cracked loaf after baking, the slow cooker provided another kind of magic, slices that were moist and tender from edge to core, thanks to the gentle and even layer of steam. The home economists in the rival test kitchens constantly experimented, refining the recipe to maximize the device's ability to retain moisture. And the result was a dish that was not only delicious, but admirably practical. During the Great Depression, when every penny counted, meatloaf became the clever choice. Crockpot and Quaker Oats cookbooks suggested stretching the ground beef portion with oatmeal or crushed crackers, helping each pound of meat go further. On the surface, a thick layer of Heinz ketchup, sometimes mixed with a little brown sugar and mustard, was spread on during the final hour, creating an appealing reddish-brown color and an unforgettable aroma. Potatoes and carrots were arranged around the loaf, soaking up the rich meat juices, transforming this simple dish into a complete and filling dinner. Under that sealed lid, Americans weren't just cooking, they were preserving tradition, proving that even during the toughest times, creativity and family love always had a place at the table. Beef and noodles. In the American Midwest, especially in church basements across Indiana and Ohio, the aroma of simmering beef and spices filling the air was often the unmistakable sign that a dish carrying regional pride was being cooked. Beef and noodles is a dish not just about flavor, but about local cultural connection, representing comfort and hospitality. This dish adhered to the core Crockpot principle of economy by turning less desirable cuts of beef, like stew meat or diced chuck, into a satisfying meal. The meat was simmered all day in beef bouillon or broth, slowly melting under the low temperature of the crockpot. The slow cooker transformed the tough meat into a tender, cozy meal. This dish is a filling, rib-sticking, gravy-rich dish. The secret lies in the timing of finishing the dish. Cooks learned that wide egg noodles must be added to the slow cooker only during the final hours. The noodles would release starch and thicken the sauce, creating a coating that clung to every piece of meat and every noodle strand. Every bowl of beef and noodles carried memories of potlucks and autumn harvest dinners, representing economy and hospitality. Corned beef and cabbage. The slow cooker boom created a revolution in how traditional dishes were prepared. Corned beef and cabbage is a clear example of how the crockpot became a liberating tool, transforming the dish from the table of Irish immigrants to everyday American cuisine. What once required hours of careful boiling, having to watch over the stove, now became a hands-off affair. The slow cooker completely transformed the brisket. Cooks simply layered the brisket with a spice packet, along with thick-cut cabbage wedges, potatoes, and carrots, into the pot. The low, steady temperature of the crockpot was the key. It not only tenderized the meat, but turned the tough brisket into slices so soft they barely held their shape, while the vegetables absorbed every flavor of the fragrant broth. Thanks to this convenience, the dish was no longer limited to St. Patrick's Day, but found a place in everyday routines. Economy was still prioritized as leftovers were never wasted, stretched into corned beef sandwiches or hash. This dish proved that the slow cooker could transform even the most famous holiday meal into a simple, satisfying weeknight dish. Pork chops with cream of mushroom soup. No single dish demonstrates the rise of convenience and corporate collaboration as clearly as pork chops with cream of mushroom soup. This wasn't just a recipe, but the result of a collaboration between two giants, Rival, the slow cooker manufacturer, and Campbell, the famous canned soup company, who together sparked a revolution in American family cuisine. Campbell quickly realized the potential of the Crockpot craze and launched a series of advertisements, supermarket flyers, and co-branded recipe books, encouraging everyone to try the super convenient pork with cream of mushroom soup dish. Just place a pork chop into the pot, pour a can of cream of mushroom soup over it, and turn the pot on. No chopping, no stirring, no standing over the stove. After several hours of slow simmering, the pork was so tender it fell apart with a spoon, bathed in a rich, fragrant cream of mushroom sauce, perfect over rice or noodles. For working parents, this was the rescue dinner after a long day. Simple, delicious, and effortless. This dish not only reflected the triumph of convenience, but also recalled a time when dinner was where the family gathered, even if everyone was busy. It is the flavor of a new America, where technology, advertising, and family tradition blended together in a simple yet warm dinner pot. If you also grew up with the aroma of those old-fashioned dinners, please hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to continue this journey with us, exploring the nostalgic flavors of America. Ham and bean soup. In the 1970s, when inflation put pressure on family budgets, ham and bean soup saw a strong revival. This dish was a classic from the Great Depression made new, where economy and comfort met modern convenience. It was a great way to turn leftovers, mainly a leftover ham bone and a bag of dry beans, into a hearty meal that could last for days. For families facing tight grocery budgets, it embodied the philosophy that nothing should go to waste. The convenience of the Crockpot worked wonders for dry beans, which were notorious for requiring hours of soaking and boiling. Thanks to the Crockpot, dry beans could be poured straight into the slow cooker along with chopped onions, carrots, and celery. The slow, gentle heat drew out all the smoky flavor from the ham bone and made the beans perfectly tender. The rise of this soup solidified the Crockpot status as a direct solution to the challenges of the time. The dish became a symbol of resourcefulness and the quiet power of set it and forget it cooking. Each bowl of soup not only provided warmth, but was also a lesson in making the most of what you have. Sloppy Joe's sandwiches. Sloppy Joe's wasn't an elegant dinner, but it was a meal that brought great fun and flexibility to the weekday table. This dish was the perfect answer for families being pulled in many directions by after-school activities, little league games, and late work shifts. It embodied kid-friendly energy and absolute convenience. Sautéed ground beef was simmered in a sweet and tangy sauce, often from a can of Manwich, an extremely popular convenience product. The power of the Crockpot here was its ability to prepare a large batch early in the day and keep it warm for hours, ready for whenever the kids were hungry or the parents returned home. The aroma of simmering tomato sauce, brown sugar, and spices promised something hearty and familiar. Magazine ads from that era emphasized the playful appeal, showing smiling children and busy mothers. This dish was a solution, allowing everyone to eat together or in shifts, helping modern families maintain connection through the meal despite busy schedules. Leftovers could also be packed for lunch or frozen for another busy night. Stuffed peppers. In the 1970s, as life became increasingly busy and people started looking for quick but still delicious recipes, stuffed peppers became a star in Crockpot cookbooks. It wasn't just a dish, it was a way to make the table look elegant and cozy without spending hours in the kitchen. Previously, This dish was often considered complicated, requiring blanching the peppers, cooking rice, and sautéing the filling. But the slow cooker changed everything. You just needed a few familiar ingredients like ground beef, uncooked minute rice, tomato sauce, and a little Italian seasoning. Everything was placed inside the green bell peppers, put into the pot, turned on, and time was left to do the rest. For hours, the gentle steam inside the pot made the peppers soft, their color deepening and becoming beautiful, while the filling cooked evenly inside, retaining the sweetness of the meat and the distinctive tomato aroma. When the lid was opened, the spreading aroma made the entire kitchen light up. The dish looked appealing, yet felt truly like home cooking. With stuffed peppers, Americans of that era didn't just find a delicious dinner, but also discovered a new cooking philosophy: minimum effort, maximum results. A simple, economical recipe, yet one that still brought everyone together around the table, exactly the spirit of the 70s. Chicken noodle soup. The comforting and familiar flavor of chicken noodle soup in the Crockpot brought homemade comfort closer to families who had previously relied on canned soup. The slow cooker allowed cooks to create a golden, deeply flavorful broth without having to watch the stove all day. The whole chicken, nestled among sliced carrots, celery, and onions, was slowly simmered all day. The richness of the broth came directly from the bones, gradually dissolving as time passed, not from shortcuts or artificial flavor packets. Egg noodles were added in the last 20 minutes so they wouldn't get mushy, a crucial detail for maintaining the dish's quality. This experience was a major shift, a pot of soup that tasted like it had been watched all day but required almost no attention. The aroma, the clarity of the broth, and the way the chicken fell apart made it clear that the convenience of the Crockpot didn't necessarily mean a compromise on quality. This dish was a quiet victory for cooks who wanted both ease and pride in what they served. Salisbury steak. Salisbury steak in the Crockpot brought a wave of TV dinner nostalgia right to the family table, doing away with the aluminum trays and the annoying microwave bell. This dish became a symbol of cleverness during a time of economy. In a decade defined by tight budgets, this dish offered the flavor of a restaurant meal at a fraction of the cost. Home cooks shaped seasoned ground beef into thick, oval patties, placing them in the pot with canned mushrooms and a generous amount of brown beef gravy. The gentle temperature of the slow cooker kept the meat from drying out, delivering a rich, moist, and deeply satisfying dish. The flavor recalled childhood Swanson dinners, a comfort food that felt both familiar and grown up. This dish was a small luxury made practical for busy nights and tight budgets. Pork and sauerkraut. The Crockpot slow cooker helped modern families preserve traditions and ancient superstitions, especially with pork and sauerkraut. This wasn't just a simple dinner, but a New Year's ritual carrying hope and belief. According to the tradition of the Pennsylvania Dutch, this dish was served on January 1st because they believed that pork symbolizes progress, while sauerkraut brings good luck and prosperity. And when the Crockpot came along, it helped busy families continue that custom, easier yet retaining its original spirit. You only needed a few simple ingredients: pork roast, canned sauerkraut, sliced apples, and a spoon of brown sugar. Everything was put into the pot, simmering gently all day. As the apple and sugar flavors blended to mellow the sourness of the cabbage, a sweet, warm aroma filled the kitchen, evoking a feeling of peace and gathering. This dish didn't just warm the stomach, it also kept the spirit of tradition warm, helping every family feel that even as life changed, the old values remained intact in every New Year's meal. Chicken and rice casserole. Chicken and rice casserole wasn't just a dish. It was a symbol of confidence in the American kitchen of the 1970s. In a time when people started discovering the power of electric home appliances, this simple dish became the unofficial starter recipe for millions of new home cooks. Not fussy, requiring no special skills, It was simply the perfect combination of convenience and flavor. In thousands of PTA and Junior League cookbooks, this recipe often appeared right on the first page, like a friendly invitation. You can do this. The cooking method was truly simple. A layer of converted rice on the bottom of the pot, topped with raw chicken, then poured over with a can of condensed cream soup. No sautéing, no chopping, and no need to watch the heat. The Crockpot with its steady temperature took care of the rest, making the rice soft and cooked through, infused with chicken juices, and exuding a rich, creamy aroma. For many, this was the first dinner they cooked themselves using their brand new pot, a coming-of-age ritual in the age of convenient cooking. It proved that you don't need to be a professional chef to bring warm flavor to your family. All you needed was a crock-pot and a little confidence. Beef tips and gravy. One of the ways the crock-pot brought simple elegance to the American dining table in the 1970s was through beef tips and gravy. Made from inexpensive cuts like stew meat or diced round steak, this dish proved that resourcefulness could replace extravagance. But the real secret lay in something seemingly simple: the Lipton onion soup mix packet. Just sprinkle that small packet into the pot with a little water, mushrooms, and sliced onions, and let the gentle heat of the crock-pot handle the rest. After a few hours, the meat and onion mixture transformed into a thick, rich, and wonderfully fragrant brown gravy, enough to bring the whole family around the table. The Lipton brand performed magic, turning an ordinary dinner into a warm, special moment, even on a budget. The forked tender beef, spooned over white rice, egg noodles, or mashed potatoes, created a simple yet complete dinner. With just one small spice packet, the homemakers of that time weren't just cooking, they were creating, caring, and turning the most ordinary things into memorable moments. BBQ, pulled pork. Not every family had a backyard or a charcoal grill, but that didn't stop our grandparents and parents from bringing the flavor of BBQ to dinner. When the Crockpot slow cooker appeared, BBQ pulled pork became the easiest way to bring the whole backyard barbecue inside the kitchen. All it took was a large pork shoulder, a bottle of BBQ sauce, often KC Masterpiece, and sometimes a splash of cola or apple cider vinegar for extra flavor. Everything was dropped straight into the pot, no stirring, no monitoring needed. While parents were at work, the slow cooker quietly worked all day, so that when they returned, the house was filled with the smell of smoky barbecue and rich, sweet sauce. When the lid was lifted, the pork was so tender it fell apart with just a touch, soaking up every drop of sauce. Served on buns or alongside mashed potatoes, this dish easily became the star of every neighborhood party, family reunion, or outdoor graduation celebration. It wasn't just a meal, it was a memory of weekends, when grandparents and parents sat around the table sharing every piece of tender, flavorful meat and talking late into the evening. Crockpot meatballs with grape jelly and chili sauce. If there's one dish that summarizes the party spirit of the 70s, this unique meatball recipe is it. It captured the spirit of a 70s party colorfully and nostalgically, serving as proof that recipes that were almost unbelievably simple could still leave the sweetest memories. The detailed cooking method is incredibly simple. Just a bag of frozen meatballs, a jar of Welch's grape jelly, and a bottle of Heinz chili sauce poured into the slow cooker. When time passed, the sauce transformed into a glossy, sweet, and tangy glaze that coated every meatball. The dish created a sense of special occasion, appearing at every party. Hosts loved the hands-off approach, setting the dial in the morning and having party food ready when guests arrived. This strange yet delicious flavor evoked instant nostalgia. The popularity of the dish was genuine, not ironic, and it is proof that sometimes the simplest recipes leave the sweetest memories. Meat and potato patties. During periods of economic difficulty, including the inflationary 1970s, the ingenuity of home cooks was best shown by their ability to maximize basic ingredients. Meat and potato patties is a dish born from the spirit of economy. Meat and potatoes were the main nutritional sources, easy to buy and inexpensive, and this patty dish was a wonderful variation to stretch the delicious meal and keep the family full. This patty showed creativity in using scraps or leftover meat. The detailed cooking method relies on simplicity. Mix ground meat with mashed potatoes, add finely chopped onions, salt and pepper seasoning, along with a little flour or breadcrumbs for binding. The mixture is then shaped into small bite-sized patties, fried or pan-seared over medium heat until the patties are evenly golden brown on the outside and tender and fragrant inside. The slow cooker, although not directly involved in frying the patties, became a powerful tool for preparing side dishes or pre-cooking mashed potatoes. An upgraded version of this dish could be slow-cooked in gravy. More importantly, the spirit of this patty, the focus on minimizing waste and using leftovers, was a philosophy perfectly aligned with the Crockpot boom. This patty is linked to family evenings together, often appearing in simple but warm meals, and making the patties was also a family activity, creating bonding. From the pot roast that defined everyday comfort to the vibrant grape jelly meatballs, these 20 dishes are living pages of history about an era. The Crockpot slow cooker didn't just fill the dinner table, it became a liberating tool for working mothers and a symbol of resourcefulness during those challenging years of inflation and time pressure. These recipes helped the previous generation overcome difficulties, turning humble ingredients into hearty meals, balancing economy, flavor, and togetherness. The greatest legacy the slow cooker left behind wasn't its utility, but the warm, enduring memories of a time when family was always the top priority. If these stories bring back deep memories and you want to continue exploring the warm historical milestones in American cuisine with us, please leave a comment sharing your family's most memorable Crockpot dish. We truly look forward to preserving these past values and flavors together. If you love nostalgic stories like this, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel to continue the journey back in time with us. Have these flavors and memories made you want to go back to the 70s kitchen? Don't hesitate to share the name of the side dish you remember most in the comments section and hit hype to honor these dishes. Pickled watermelon rind.